Welcome back to Experiential Anatomy Back Care Month. Hello, Mary Richards.
Hello, Lizzie Lasater.
So our back care webinar course is launching the first week of July. If you want to hear more about it, please visit www.experientialanatomy.yoga. You'll get the emails and all the info. Mary, today we want to talk about back care before you have back pain. So many people are drawn to yoga because they have back pain. And it's one of the biggest testimonials that it helps people with that condition. But what about those of us who don't yet have, what's a kind of preventative sequence, a simple, well-rounded set of poses that you really like to kind of keep your back happy?
Yeah, so because, an ounce of prevention really is worth a pound of cure.
Right.
And the key really to the body in general is we're bioengineered to move, and motion is lotion. So we want to keep moving, and that's how we prevent having joint problems, whether they're joint problems within the vertebral column itself or knees, wrists, whatever. Is we want to move, and we want to move in many different ways. And so there are 3 to 4 poses that I actually do every day.
Wow.
And sometimes multiple times a day. I like to take little yoga breaks, and they're accessible for most people, and we'll talk about this some in the course, how to modify for folks who can't get down on the floor and things like that. But CatCow.
Yeah.
There's a reason why CatCow shows up in just about every yoga class. It's because CatCow enlivens the muscles of the core, it mobilizes the vertebral column, and it allows us to really counter the effects of sitting and things like that. So CatCow until the cows come home. I don't like to think that let's do 8 or 10. I like to do a movement like CatCow until I feel content. And I just sort of know viscerally when that arises for me. And so I like to do CatCow, and I'm a huge fan of planks because I love push-ups. And planks are the start of push-ups. And what I like about planks is it allows us to really bring the entire body into a state of attention that I enjoy. And then I like to do gentle twists. Okay. So if you want to hop on your mat.
I do. We're going to do all of those now. Those of you watching at home, go get your yoga mat. Roll it out. Let's all do it together. I love the idea of a little yoga break for those of us who work from home or spend a lot of time or have a yoga mat at our office. The teacher Bo Forbes talks about the idea of a yoga half-life, that our practice can kind of expire in our bodies. So instead of she says rather than doing 90 minutes of yoga once a week, it's probably better to do sort of 10 minutes every day, 12 minutes, or however that math works. So Mary, what did I want to ask? Before we jump on, as people are still getting their mats, tell us, do you call yourself a yoga therapist? How do you sort of describe your immense qualifications, title? Give us a few of your resume, if you will.
I just had a really interesting conversation with Judith about this a few weeks ago, because this is something that actually keeps me awake at night. So I tend to say I'm a yoga teacher.
Yeah.
Or I'll say I'm an integrative health educator, because to me, yoga is about integration and health, holistic health. I don't call myself a yoga therapist. I am a CIAYT.
Tell us what that stands for.
Which is a certified International Association of Yoga Therapists designation. It means I've completed all the education and experience requirements to be certified as a yoga therapist. I've been a yoga practitioner for almost 3 decades. And I don't even know what yoga is. So I don't know how to describe yoga therapy. This is something I really think about, because what we say matters, language really matters. And so I really think of teaching the people, the person in front of me. Mm-hmm. And I tend to call myself, a yoga instructor, or which actually I feel very nervous about, because who am I to say that I'm a yoga teacher? I'm doing the best that I can with
what I've got.
Well,
I will say that you are an anatomy enthusiast. You have a vast amount of knowledge, and I think you're very skilled at what I would call the therapeutic applications of yoga, of using the tool of asana as a modality. There's all kinds of healing modalities, like physical therapy, osteopath, like all these. And I would say you're a kind of gifted practitioner of using asana as a healing modality.
Thank you. Thank you. I tend to think of the body in terms of asana. And what I look for when I'm looking at someone is I'm looking at what catches my eye. Mm-hmm. Because what it is that catches my eye can be an indication that something is upregulated or downregulated, or out of balance. It could be a bully in the body. Mm-hmm. So that's the way I tend to work with folks, is what catches my eye. And because I'm Pitta pushing Kapha, we're known for our eyes.
Well, the other thing I will share with the viewers is that Mary and I have been filming now for about an hour a sequence of these videos just like this. She can see exactly this much of me as you can. And just before we hit record on this video, she said, "What's going on with your what did you say, like T12 through T8? I think there's something, you're jacked up." And I was like, "Mary, how did you know that I I had not mentioned it, and I was pretending to be a normal, healthy 35-year-old, and she could see it." All right, let's start with CatCow.
Okay, so we come to all fours and position your hand slightly forward of the top of the shoulder to protect the wrist. Yes, and when we practice CatCow, we want to make sure we lead with the pelvis. So as we exhale, we tuck the tailbone, and then we move into flexion through the lumbar, the thoracic, and the head hangs. And then when we inhale, we lift the tailbone. Yes, and allow the movement to unfurl through the body.
Oh, that's so different.
It's so different. So I like to lead with the tailbone in CatCow, but most of us will pull ourselves around through our heads. It's almost like we're nodding our head. And so by taking it to the pelvis, then we get to the basin from which the vertebral column arises. So we're starting at the beginning, if you will, of the back. Oh, and again, I like to do these until I feel content.
Okay, love it. What's next?
Then with your next inhalation, come to neutral. And exhale, bring your forearms down to the mat. Your hands position's up to you. You can make fists with the hands. You can put your palms down on the mat. You can interlace the fingers. It just needs to be comfortable for you.
Okay.
Press down through the centers of the forearms, and then walk your knees back so that they're no longer directly under your hips. I want your pelvis on the same plane or slightly below your shoulders. Yep. All 10 toes curled under, push back through your heels. Ooh. So even if you keep your knees down, you keep your feet engaged.
Okay.
And then if you want to keep pushing through the heels until your knees lift, that's fine. You can come to the forearm plank. Good. Lengthen through the crown of the head, push through the heels.
I'm getting warm.
Yes, and we stay here. See, because there are over 600 muscles in the body, and in a plank pose, all of them get to come to the party.
Really?
Yeah. You're really jacked up in your lower thoracic, Lizzie. I'm sorry. I can tell you've been carrying a pack. Yeah, right there. I can see that. Okay, well, the next thing will help. So I like to stay in a plank variation for 3 to 6 rounds of breath.
Okay.
So we don't have to stay for 5 minutes. That's actually counterproductive. We just want to stay until our attention is connected to the body.
Okay.
And then if we want, you can come to a side plank variation. Down on the forearm is fine. Yep. And because that works the abdominals differently, and you can feel the change in relationship. And this is so important because the right and left sides are different.
Okay, I'm going over.
Yep. Yeah. And I love how you have your feet.
Okay.
So we can adjust our leg position to make Vasisthasana sustainable for us.
Oh, as opposed to this?
Yeah, as opposed to that, I like to play with that.
I don't like the stacking. I get a strange, I get a weird feeling on my inner ankle bones. I don't like my inner ankle bones touching like that. It feels creepy.
your medial malleoli. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we can adjust the leg position, and then so we do the planks, and then come down onto the back body with the knees bent. Okay.
So again, this is all for the kind of pre-back pain sequence.
Exactly. This is something to do when you wake up in the morning.
Okay.
As a preventative, it's your yoga vitamin, your asana vitamin for the day. Take the arms out into a comfortable position for you. Separate the feet quite wide. I usually like my feet the width of the mat.
Okay.
And then we just gently windshield wiper the legs from side to side. This loose, open Jatara Pravriti, this reclining twist. And what's nice about this is you get hip flexor stretch.
Here.
Yes. And you can even take the arms up into a Y position if you want, and then that'll open up the armpit chest.
Armpit shot? Okay, yeah. So when I lift the arm up here, you're saying so we can feel this diagonal all through the whole chain.
Exactly. Exactly.
So
and then if you had time and you wanted to add one more thing, you could come to Eye of the Needle. Yeah. Sukhirantrasana.
Why is this good for the back? I think of this as being good for my kind of micro muscles.
It's good for your hips, and what's good for your hips is good for your back, because your lumbar and your hips really go together.
Okay, maybe that's a great place to end. Tell us one more elaboration, because there's going to be so much more like this in our back care webinar course that I hope all of you join us for. Mary, tell us one thing about the connection between the hips and the lower back. How do you see them working together?
Always. No, really, because so I don't like to separate our parts per se. I don't have a very mechanistic view of the body. I really think of us as a kinetic chain of energy. That song that you learn when you're a little kid, the knee bone's connected to the thigh bone's connected to the hip bone. It's true. It's true. And so the hips, how much flexion we have in our hips is related to how much flexion we have in our lumbar. Extension, we think that back bending, for instance, really comes from bending the back, but it really also comes from extending the hip.
So good. So good. This course is going to be a lot of fun. I really hope that you all will join us. The website is www.experientialanatomy.yoga. Mary Richards, where can we find you on the internet?
You can find me at maryrichardsyoga.com and on Facebook at A Little Yoga Goes a Long Way, and on Instagram at Yoga with Mary Richards.
I'm LizzieLasater.com, Instagram, Facebook, all of the things. Come say hi, and I'm sending you a big namaste across the skies.
Oh, namaste, Lizzie.
Namaste.